Law. This morning I had a whole bunch of things going on as far as piecing together some bigger puzzle pieces that were have been floating around for a while now. So this video is gonna tie in, and it's gonna be completely kind of piecing it together. I literally just now started putting this together, and still trying to find my place to start. So I'm gonna drink some tea and just chill out. This is the Matrix Revolutions, so that's the third Matrix movie. This is the script. I wanted to show you guys the train scene, but I really only wanted to focus on the script. I didn't care about anything else. So, the train scene, for some of you who've seen this movie know. Beyond that, I'm not going to talk about the whole anything within the Matrix for people who are already like, oh God, I don't even want to. I really just want to speak on, what is this? I guess since the whole world can theorize of what this reality is, I guess this would be part of, like, if I were to connect the dots with a lot of the stuff that's on this channel, from channeling the New Age community all the way up to like the conspiracy theory, flat earth, all these little circles, truther circles. And what the system, what I've been saying, what the system is trying to portray, like trying to push, like that storyline, the whole simulation theory, transhumanism, like why this merge with machine thing going on? Like why is there such a fetish with machinery? Like go over the fetishes of the system and try to reverse engineer what this system is attempting to do through convincing us, through distracting us. And what do we already know? What's already on the table? What people are being used? What are the differences between certain people and the other people and the people that are being used in relation to, like, specifically, what is happening with... So I'm going to go pretty hard into this theory. This is going to include, like, some of the Bible stuff. Some of the Bible stuff, and then some of the... I was just listening to see if everything was cool. Yeah, some of the Bible stuff and religion in general, and just that whole idea, and also including the definitions or their lack thereof, and ideas of, you know, what this place is, who we are, and the words that we use, like love and human and angels and God and like all this stuff. Like, what does it really mean? Like, what does love really mean? Like, what is a human? Because you have humanity, but okay, so what is a human? What is the embodiment of that? And then you have programs you have these software programs. Let me get to this train thing because I don't want to get too far off, but that's pretty much setting the tone of where I'm coming from in reference to the theory that I had. So this is going off into the theory that I had on channeling, because if anything, the vast array of information that I have on this channel, which ones were the ones that stood out enough energetically, just period, to be removed from this channel? One of them was, the first one was the Abraham Hicks channeling decoded video that used it as an example. So now I'm going to revisit that shit and start there. The second one was Like It Is with Gil Noble, when he was interviewing Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark and a few other people. Was just a video that just probably got pinged, and then they were just like, yeah, just remove it and whatever. I don't know how that whole thing works, but that's my second strike. So, you know, whatever. We'll see where that lies later on. But for right now, step one, strike one, what the fuck happened with that? And, oh, by the way, it's also part of the stuff that I talk about anyway. So, obviously, so might as well break it down even further. So, channeling, basically that video went into like the max out, the extremes of the vortex. Like, so what do these channelers repeat? Like, what do they have? Do they have like a repetitive theme? Like, if it were a person, like if channeling were a person, who would that person be? It'd be some old basic ass, like, cookie cutter, just like it'd be a program. It'd be a robotic program. That's what a channeled message, like all the channelers that I've seen. Like, if you research channeling and you go and you look at a lot of different channelers and you really listen to what they're saying or it is saying, and see it as a program, see it as a machine, see it as a machine sending out signals to these organic and inorganic antennas that are this mixture of what we call this combination of human. Okay, it's a what? Well, we got one program telling you they know exactly what it is. Well, who the fuck asked you to say anything? Why did you lie in the first fucking place? Like, who the fuck told these guys to tell everybody that they were monkeys? And why the fuck do they have to tell the whole fucking world that we are all from fucking monkeys? Like, why do you have to say anything? Did the Polynesian people go around the world trying to tell everybody else that we were all fucking monkeys? No. Did the Cubans go around to the world telling everybody, hey, we're all monkeys? Something is a little fucking fishy about that. There's only really a certain group of people, and you don't have to like go real hard about that. There's only a certain group of people that really went around the world telling everybody some whole fucked up ass stories. And the same motherfuckers that did that, their descendants and their family members are on the internet now telling you what else you should fucking focus on and listen to. It's bullshit. Still to this day, right now in this moment, they're still doing that. And nobody else can really say anything about it. Like, it's like this big elephant in the room, this big black ass elephant in the room that will never forget a motherfucking thing that happened in this whole catalog of machinery you call consciousness. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to get into with this Matrix Revolution shit. That's the perspective I want to come from, because there is a synthetic fuckery that's going on here that is trying to act like it's the same rhythm as everything else. It is not. And the people that, see, this is where I said, this is where I was like, I'm like really gonna look at this whole, like, we're all one, we're all unity. That's another thing. Why? That has the same effect as the whole monkey thing. Like, why the push for this whole, like, we're all one, stop asking questions shit? You see what I'm saying? Like, I understand, believe me, I understand the spirituality of oneness. I understand that. But that's not what we're talking about right now. And you don't have to repeat the name, the title of the book over and over again, because the book, the story within that book is way more complex than the title. The story within that we're dealing with right now has certain characters that are being used for certain things and certain differences that exist biologically. And there are certain pushes in this thing we call the mainstream media. It's an intelligence injection system. And not intelligence, but like intelligence, like the Central Intelligence Agency intelligence would be intelligence. That's what the mainstream media is. You all know that. It's the system itself talking to the people, telling the people what to do, how to think, literally. So take it that far. Take it to the extreme that this is all a machine. Now let's go into their reality of this is all a simulation. Okay, let's go there and see this as a machine bridge. This is that train, not literally as a so I gotta space it out. Literally as in, because there is, like, in this theory, there is this literal. Let me get some more tea. Hold on a second. It's good to take a break anyway, because, yep, found my place. Alright, let's see what's going on first. Oh yeah, and then Larry and Andy Wachowski, and then that whole thing. So this ties into the whole this is not a universal thing. That whole, like, how the LGBT push in the mainstream media, that's not a universal thing. The same way white supremacy is not a universal thing, but it's on the television equally as LGBT stuff and all that. Like Black Lives Matter, that's not our movement. That's not our information. That's their idea of what we should think about our information. The same way Black History Month is not our information. And who the fuck, why do we have to have a History Month? That's to shut you up. That's for a purpose. That's for a purpose. So what is the information in there? To tell you that you're a slave over and over and over and over and over again, and repeat it. Because that's the only information that's to tell you what to think, to tell you to shut up. Get that tea bag. That's it. Alright. Alright. So, keep this in mind. Think of this, because I'm going to come back to it. I'll loop back, but it's cool to keep in mind because it's where I'm coming from. There's an actual machine world that is not this world, literally. There's another machine world, like, of a consciousness, like, that you can tune into, like an AM FM radio. Just think of that. Like, if you had FM, you wouldn't need to tune in to AM because because you got FM and AM usually. Like a radio has both of them. But why would you go back to an AM radio? You wouldn't, right? So think of AM as like an entire realm of consciousness. And that realm of consciousness, AM, is the machine world. I'm just using these words as an example of like, think of it as consciousness, and keep in mind you're visualizing the movie too, The Matrix, the machine world, and that whole thing too. So I'm going to tie this back into the machine world consciousness is the intelligence that's coming through the channeling, the channelers messages. Because I've said this in previous videos. This was my original theory on what channeling is. And the reason why the New Age is so attractive to so-called only, like, mostly white people is because that information, there's a relationship that they have to that world that is not necessarily a connection that we have. We don't have that connection. So taking it to the extremes, being as reading the New Age for what it already is, a lot of them already think that they're hybrids. They think that they're mixed up with alien stuff. So instead of alien, replace that with like machine world. So they are part of the machine world. They have been created in a way that we haven't, like our natural. So this is an entire experience, and this is going to be very abstract because this is tying in a whole shitload of videos that I've already broken down like in many different hours. So I can already hear the keystrokes, people in there. Oh, I'm going to get on there and make a comment. I'm going to be making comments. I'm going to comment the fuck out of this. Oh, I'm going to smash that. I'm going to smash that, enter that key so hard. Okay, so, let me get some more tea. So I lost my train of thought. The machine world. A literal machine world. Being bird of the machine world. And then you have other people who have no relationship to that machine world. But there is this train station that is this realm that bridges both the machine world and the soul world. Is the only thing I can say to explain the difference. The soul world. There's a soul world. And then you had, so that's connected to the original soul. And then you had, so like I said, keep in mind all that biblical shit as they was talking about in the books to make you focus only on one thing, to make a dream within a dream, a superhero within a superhero, a supervillain within a supervillain. Keep that in mind. They're making these stories to keep. Like I said, if you make a station, what if you make a station in between AM and FM and convince everybody that that's the only station that exists, and both AM and FM doesn't exist? So the machine world, they're telling you doesn't exist, but now they're discovering it. And but we all have FM, right? So, but AM never really had FM. They never really had that connection. But they're trying to tell you that we're all the same. So they're trying to tell you, to convince your consciousness, to make them also think that they are inorganically convince you to, okay, so this exists in your code, man, this is going hard, and this ain't no crazy ass tea neither. This is just some regular ass peppermint tea. FYI. So the FM radio is like the original, like the connection to nature, the protection of like the souls for the next 7 generations, the relationship to the sun, to the moon, to like the organic relationship, like the understanding, understanding, and overstanding of what these relationships are without having to take ownership over it. Like just understanding it and not really having any attachment or complete detachment from it. It's just that whole acknowledgement of what's going on and then experiencing this for what it is. And then that's it. Whereas you have an entirely different group of people who are of an inorganic consciousness relationship to this realm biologically. And in that biological, what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing calls recessive genetic nature, she goes into more the psychiatric, like the whole different topic from, not different, but similar in different ways. Similar in different ways? Yeah, similar in different ways. Yeah, there's a relationship. Okay, so before I get there, the machine world was, just imagine the machine world as the world created by a step off consciousness. So it's going to be missing something, right? So you can tie into that whole, like, whatever. A world created from a step down God, to take it to the extreme. That world's going to be missing something, right? What is that? That world's going to be missing some kind of rhythm. If it makes some babies, it's going to be missing some kind of rhythm. The maybe the sun might burn them a little bit. Like maybe there'd be some kind of like psychological thing where they have to control and manipulate everything and convince everybody and everything that it's all about, like, have this narcissistic approach that it's all about like their race. Like they have to paint God in their image. Like they have to like convince the whole world that their God is the only God and their religion is the only religion. You can see how this is all the stuff. So there's something a little off with that shit. There's something a little off with that. But that's the mainstream machine. See, it's not a mainstream. It's a machine stream consciousness. This is a machine stream media. It's not a mainstream media. This is machinery. This is why everything has to be related to technology, and why technology is a center of attention, because the machine world is trying to take over the bridge between the machine world, the AM, and the FM, the FM world of the next bridge to the next stage. And this bridge is very this is why they got the whole revolution thing, because it's the last stance between like the whole angels and dragons and demons, and like it's all dramatized in various books, but energetically on a world scene, this machine world has created, this machine consciousness has created, the step down consciousness has created a world, and that world still is connected through the original the original consciousness that was stepped down. It still had to step down, so it still has the ability to step down. So it was already in some kind of way at the original step. But since it's disconnected itself energetically from the original step through creating this whole machine world that it can now play in and only exists and convince itself only exists, the same way people are doing today. What are so-called white people doing in society today? They are living in a world and acting as if all the other worlds and other memories and realities don't exist. It's the same thing. It's a world within a world. It's a dream within a dream. It's a machine within a machine consciousness. This is why in this Matrix Revolution movie, Neo in the train station, he's talking to a machine. And that machine, the family, they make it as a... and they use so-called brown people again. Indian family. Or, I actually don't know. Jesus H. Christ. I'm trying to find that. So yeah, there's another example. They've been using brown people again to tell their stories. So they use brown people in the most important scenes. So who's the oracle? A brown lady and a brown black lady. Old black lady. Oh, here we go. Indian girl. Here he goes. For a moment, he sees her as a program of pure radiant energy. So she's still a program. She's a program. So keep that in mind. Like I said, love is a program. Human is a program. So like, what does this machine world want you to do? It wants you to reproduce. It wants you to get your code into this machine world. Karma is a program. Karma is another thing that was mentioned in this conversation that you're getting ready to see. So keep this shit in mind. Like, all these are words that make you do things in this world. Why does this system need you? What happens when you... Like, one thing we all understand in some kind of way is that you are a soul in some kind of way that is gonna move on. Like, this world is not it's not as simple as this world. Like, when your soul is here or wasn't here before, when you see babies born, like, and then now you're like, whoa, shit, and then the soul, and then they start dancing, doing all this kind of stuff. Like, it's a whole experience. But the thing is, like, this world is also it's a living thing in some kind of way, that it's a machinery living thing that has like function and limitations the same way you do as an individual. Point is, like, your people's souls are in many ways bigger than this whole machine world. So that's what I'm saying, is that, like, in other people, they don't have that though. In other people, this whole world is all they have. Like, all they have is like their car, their house, their fancy ladies, their nice creams and lotions, and like all that like fancy shit, like, of this materialistic world. This world is this world is the idol. So this world is the idol that is being worshipped, and it's the machine world. Like I said, the machine world. Like, keep in mind that so what is the intelligence in that machine world? So what are the codes that are programmed into you constantly? So you have, like I mentioned, like, I've been mentioning a lot of the codes on these videos on this channel. Some of the codes are like in the New Age program, you have the whole, like, unity, we're all one, we're all human. Don't look at anything in the past. Don't look at anything that, like, there's something fishy about that stuff. All the connection to the aliens, the extraterrestrials. It's all about technology and creating all, like, connections and interpretations of this machine world, and like how it's all about sacred geometry and codes and crystals and all this stuff. This is not to say, like, that stuff doesn't have its meaning and purpose. It's just to say that the bigger picture of how all those things fit together is the bigger picture. Like, it's like, why is all that stuff? Like, what is that stuff connected to? What's the grid that crystals are connected to? It's the same grid we're connected to. The same grid the tree people are connected to. the same grid that the elemental, the air, the fire energies, like, and this is what I was talking about, like you have like the energies. So intelligent energies like angelic energies, dragon energies, you have demonic energies, you have gods, you have like all these blendings and mixings of elemental energies and angelic energies and elemental energies and dragon energies. You see what I'm saying? It's like all this shit has a mixing that already exists naturally in its own, as all these different frequencies evolve. Like I said, AM and FM, different kinds, different more complex codes and frequency, whatever words you want to use to explain whatever that, however it fits in your interpretation. Sati is her name. Bathed in a shimmering aura of her light, he feels his pain melting away. Bathed in the shimmering aura of her light, he feels his... So in that moment, in that scene, it comes in like a birthing, like the light. It opens, like he opens his eyes, like it's very bright, like he's in a what is that when you're in a when you're being born? That room. I'm drinking some tea right now. Yeah. So she represents, and she's the baby who's being that her parents, program parents, are taking into the world, the so-called real world. But she's a machine. So like entering all these clones and all this stuff, like what are so-called white people, like, or the establishment that also named itself supreme. If you wanted to rewind this for 200 years, and because the program is still running, that program is still active, alive and well. I have to say it like this so people can actually acknowledge this shit. The program that was installed in this on this whatever this yeah, the software program that was installed into the computer hardware and the computer systems of the individuals, the people, the soul interpreters of reality that aren't limited to the machine world. There was a software program programmed into organic souls that is convincing them that they are destined to be merged with the machine world. So that machine world can only be bridged if the organic soul connectors install their soul genetic codes into the machine. The machine produced beings. Like percentage-wise, the ones who are still repeating the codes of the machine, the ones who are still repeating the patterns and the rhythms of the machine, which are the aliens, the merging with technology, the destroying of the land only for yourself, like having no rhythm with nature, no balance with nature, just completely focusing only on your own existence at the expense of the entire realm. that breakaway from the original breakaway from nature is why there's no relationship with nature. As an example, I say nature as an example of like relationship to the soul, relationship to the intelligence of the soul. That's what I'm saying. Like, to ignore the story of what happened to the origin, to like the indigenous people, the people of the lands everywhere, to ignore that story is to ignore part of the soul. So people who are actively ignoring what happened, like what exists, like when people say, I don't want to talk about Western civilization, I don't want to talk about colonialism, I don't want to talk about how, you know, white supremacy exists inside the government, I don't want to talk about how white supremacy exists inside the machine/mainstream media, the machine stream media. They don't want to talk about that. That's a separation from the soul. Why? Ask yourself why. That's consistently you got to ask yourself why, because you're not going to get those answers from books. It's going to come from inside of you, asking the right questions. So your questions are a book. Like when you ask and talk to yourself and teaching yourself, because there's a very real relationship that exists that you have, that's called the teacher-student relationship that you have with yourself. And the quicker that you become a better student, the more you'll learn. Before you can become a great teacher, you have to become a great student. And people take entire lifetimes trying to become great teachers when they haven't become great students yet. They haven't become even fucking mediocre students yet. So they're too busy trying to tell everybody how much great of a teacher they are, when you have to first become an amazing student. Once you're an amazing student, it don't take much to teach that student. Keep that student at the level of just before teacher status, because when you're at that level, the intensity of a student is still there, but also the humility of a student is still there. That doesn't exist when you have the machine internet convincing all these half-ass, still broken-ass people, mostly all these people on everywhere, got some shit going on. And yet all these broken ass people are telling everybody how fucking like what should be done. Like follow the fucking like all these machine programs that are out there, like the fucking Bible and all the machine mainstream religions, like everything that's mainstream, it's machine stream. This shit is a code. It's a coding. It's a coding that what I'm seeing is by tearing like getting into the blueprints of what the new age is. Like, what is it saying on a macro scale? This is what I'm saying. Like, it's so important to go into the macro. What is this system saying over and over again? What does it want us to do? It wants us to reproduce. There's also an interracial dating thing that's going on. And this can be seen by anybody. Like, look at the television. Look at your newspaper articles, the Sunday newspaper, the marketing ads. It's in everything. Why would people so no longer see it as like people, now see it as machines? Why would machines want to... Now you can see it. Now you can see it. Now you would see why... because it's no longer just people. There's something a little off. There's a world. See it as a representatives of the world, of material world. Like okay. So constantly being inundated by sexual programming, even in your food commercials, reproduction, tie in race, obvious. What's that doing? That's installing the soul code into the machine world through the machine beings, the mainstream beings. It's harvesting our genetic codes. This is why the whole unity, harmony, oneness thing exists. It's harvesting the codes. And it's not the genetic codes that are most important. It's the in-the-moment conscious codes, the spiritual codes. See, all of them are important. All of them are equally important. But one thing that we have to, all the things that we have to keep in mind are these frequencies. Like I said, the AM radio, everything has exists on every level of energetic frequency. So you have the importance of the physical. Obviously, they need your physical codes, genetic codes. Why? They need your blood. They need your saliva for this ancestry shit. They need your they need you to reproduce and install it into the system. Like they need it. That's a need. The whole fucking world. Like I said, you don't have the Polynesian mainstream media going around the world telling you need to have sex with white women. You don't have that. You don't or with Polynesian women. You don't have that. You don't have Cubans going around the world showing pictures of Cuban women saying, hey, look how sexy these Cuban women are. You should have sex with them and make a whole bunch of Cuban babies. Like, to the whole fucking world, like that's what's happening. That's what the Hollywood is. That's what the mainstream media is. That's what all these movies are. So, when it's in the movie, they flip the script. They sell it back to you as if it's they have to tell you the story, but they have to change the way the characters look, and they have to change the way the story of the character of the world. They have to change the way the character of the world looks. And they change the way of the world, the universe, how the universe looks. So this is why the machine people, the representatives of the consciousness of the machine world people, have to change the consciousness of the soul people's world. Their whole universe has to be, the coding of their universe has to be more anchored in the machine world reality. And that makes the machine world coding, that makes the machine world coding more active in this bridge world. And percentage wise, when the bridge world can get more active through the souls, because consciously they're believing themselves into this universe. Like I said, the channelers are telling you, inundating you with, they are existing, and they are existing with pure love. Pure, for a moment, he sees her as a program of pure, radiant energy, bathed in a shimmering aura of her light. He feels his pain melting away. So the machine program, your machine world mother, births you here, pure radiant energy. So pure radiant energy, like I said, when you become a mother and father in a world, you become a god to the child in one way, because their entire life is dependent on you taking care of them, raising them. Animals do this too, but consciously on a universal scale, like the thoughts. And when one could argue like a deer is thinking about what the universe is doing, you could, and we just don't see it that way. I mean, it's not that difficult for people to think like whales think like that, or a dolphin think like that. So why the fuck not deer? Anyway, but you see, on some kind of way, coding wise, there's a reason for existing, so on and so forth, that there's a relationship, there's a harmony, there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm. Deer aren't telling the whole fucking world, hey, you need to go fuck a deer. Like, deer in America aren't like, white-tailed deer in America aren't going over to Chinese deer and telling Chinese deer, hey, you need to, showing them pictures of American deers and say, hey, you need to reproduce with these deer, okay? These are the best deer ever. They're in all the movies. You'll be really successful. So that's what's happening on that scale. And this is why people in the so-called truther community won't talk about this shit, because it's so fucking hilarious and so fucking obvious. They'll be like, why the fuck haven't we talked about this? Well, how did we miss this? Because it's fucking embarrassing in one way. If you're trying to defend it, now it's fucking embarrassing. Because it's been a long time now, and they had a lot of time to think about this shit. And then everybody's just like, we'll just keep it flat and that's it. The fuck out of here. We'll keep it flat and that's that. For a moment, he sees her as a program of pure. He still sees. He says, what's before pure radiant energy? She's a program. And then, so he's being birthed into the train station, the bridge between worlds. And then you have the god of that world is the conductor, right? And he says it, I'm a god, and you'll see it too. Here, I'm God, and that whole thing. So, let me get some more tea before I get into this. I'm getting it. We're there. We're in the middle of it, pretty much. So that's that. I pretty much got all the channeling stuff down, like the whole talking about how channeling is the coding of the machine world, trying to convince you more and more of the program of love, of the program of karma, of the program of, these are repetitive themes in the New Age community. Anything new, like that whole New Age, New World mentality, Columbus, that whole thing. See, Christopher Columbus installed the New World, the consciousness of the New World, where you have like Oprah and Eckhart Tolle and whoever's on that Super Soul Sunday team, that squad. They're installing whatever, some clever fucking thing that I said. Whatever the guy was. It was. I was thinking about what I was gonna get into next, so I forgot what everything. It was the same thing as what I said before, but so it was funny, kinda. So for a moment he says, "Oh, a program." So a program, yeah. Who are you? My name is Santi. Your name is Neo. So she already knows everything. She knows him. My papa says that you are not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be there. He says you must be lost. If he's there, you must be lost. Okay, are you lost, Neo? Where am I? This is a train station. The what? He pushes himself up, look around. Ceramic tiles have been painted with the name of the station, Mobile Avenue. Neo continued. This isn't the Matrix. That's where the train goes. So she's going into the world, into the Matrix world. And this is in between, but where are they coming from? Where was Neo? In the last movie, I think he was in the machine world, or whatever it was. Like, doesn't matter what the movie was. The point was, from where I'm coming from, there's an in-between, that train station, and this whole scene right here that you're getting ready to see is an example of what the worlds are. And then you can see the difference of what all the characters are in there. So that's what the main thing I want to focus on in this is the characters in here and what they represent. So you have these programs. So he's talking to a program. This is a program. And the program, the Matrix, is a program. It's a program also, but he can go into the machine world and the train station and the program of the Matrix world. But there's also like this thing that exists that is these people that are organic, that do not exist. So they exist. They say organic is in the Matrix world. What I'm saying is organic consciousness, the consciousness that's still connected to like the Most High, the relationships, the rhythms, the original rhythms. These self-focused rhythms at the expense of all the other rhythms is not in a completely organic rhythm. Something is missing. That's not to say it's not supposed to exist. It's only to say, some more tea. Point the characters, the rhythm isn't the Matrix. Regardless of what this is, you are not the Matrix. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make in this video. The Matrix is the Matrix, but you are not the Matrix. So what is the Matrix? What is the train station? And what? So if the Matrix is a place where both machine consciousness and non-machine consciousness, this is what I'm saying, non-machine beings can and machine beings can interact. Programs, software programs can interact. Both of them can interact. That's the whole point, actually, to the way I just laid it out. That's the point of this video, to lay out that theory of that those worlds existing and the beings of that world having to convince the entire grid that it's only that a certain way. Like only one world exists. Only one consciousness exists. And it's this. It's the Bible. It's heliocentrism. It's monkey evolution. It's like every mainstream, every machine thinking thing that has been put out there for you to be inundated with. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter how deeply you can write about love for the rest of your life. You're still only talking about a program. Like, I thought I was in love with a girl I didn't even know. See, that's the thing. I use that word girl because she was 29 at that, I don't know, 27 at that time. Yeah. Now I was 3 or 4 years older than her, something like that. Yeah. So, point was, consciously, the term love really pertains to a boy and a girl consciousness. Like that whole Saved by the Bell, Nickelodeon, cartoons, mainstream media. Look at your movies, Avengers movies. This is all teenager shit at best. Like it's cartoons. It's rated 17. R for 17 is rated for 17 and 13 and 14 and 15, 16, 17-year-olds. Why? Ask yourself why. Because at that age, that's where the program of love is very, very like thick. Like it feels very real to you. Like that's where love is just like your whole world. You're already thinking you're at your peak of like, oh yeah, like your reproductive energies or whatever are like that part of your centers. So like in your growth process of in this like this body, this machine body, at that time frame, those energy centers are starting to like catch on fire. So how does your brain energy center or your mind energy center interpret that? Well, it interprets that it's been programmed to reproduce, right? Like animals, it's the same thing. So why does the machine world want you to reproduce then? Well, you got to ask yourself, well, that's why I'm asking all these questions in this video right now. One thing I'm saying is that it needs your organic code. Like, so if you're convinced, like if you reproduce, like I said in previous videos, like that whole boy-girl consciousness, that's because that's really what it is. I'm glad I actually said that. That whole boy-girl consciousness is what that does is that it voids out the divine consciousness, that the divine consciousnesses that are available beyond the basically like the basic reproductive consciousness, which is just only an energetic hair of a step up from like animal consciousness. Really, it's just about reproduction. Like animals have that program going on. So the mainstream machine stream media pumping out reproductive consciousness on television all the time is to keep you in an animalistic machine world reproductive consciousness. It's a program. So we just call it love. We call it karma. We call it all these like very complex things, but we don't really know, what that is. Like, why is love being thrown around? Like, all you need is love. Like, all that. Like, what, really? Is love all we need? Like, is it that simple? Like, you need somebody to be like, hey, you need you need some people who to be real too. You don't only need love. You need somebody to be saying, hey, what about this over here? Hey, while y'all are all loving over there, like there's a responsibility over here we got to do. So we need a little bit more than love. We need accountability. We need responsibility. And like, oh no, all you need is because in the world of the machine consciousness, all you do need is love. All you need is love just to reproduce. You feel it. You can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it. You can interpret it in your mind. Like when you touch your woman and you're like, oh, I love, oh, man, that love is there. It's a spark, right? Yeah, you can feel it like that. It's everything, but it's all like programs that are defined by what? By you placing some kind of experience within the world as a definition on what that word really means. I can't even repeat what that is because it was too long but that shit was tight. Anyway, yeah, that's what it is. It's you placing all of these material, physical things onto a definition. And what is that definition? Well, that definition is whatever you give it. And so one person's definition of love is going to be completely different than somebody else's definition of love. The same way somebody else's definition of humanity is going to be completely different than somebody else's definition of humanity. Right now, what is the definition of love being pumped out? It's this material bullshit, celebrity Hollywood definition of love. Well, the same way of humanity is being pumped out. The same way that cheap ass shit of love is being pumped out. The same thing is happening with humanity. And what I'm saying is that the use of that word is even a tactic. It's a tactic to keep the definition because that's a dream within a dream. So the definition of humanity keeps up the reality, the inorganic reality of what this oh, man, you know what I'm talking about. so where are we at? This isn't the Matrix. Train goes. Oh yeah, so love, all that other stuff. It's just a made up thing. Like I was in that max out of boy girl love consciousness, like I didn't even there wasn't nothing. It was just like a feeling that existed in just the machine bodies like of me. That was it. Just like what had been programmed in my head, what had been programmed in my like your stomach mind, your like all your energy centers within the machine world. That's where all the kickers go off, and then you just interpret it with words, right? So that's what I did. So I did that, and then that's what I called love. And then you come back and you're like, whoa, you get taken back. And you're like, wait a second, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this? You know, that's not that wasn't love. That's like, and you do this with different relationships too. Like when you grow out of relationships, that's just an example of what relationships are. You grow, you have one relationship, part of you grows, the other person grows, and then, you know, you grow out into whatever that next relationship, that consciousness of relationship is. And then you got something else to learn. We're constantly learning through all these relationships with other people because we're never really looking at ourselves to grow with ourselves and the responsibility with that relationship that we have with ourselves. So that's what happened to me in my last machine relationship with the machine world, and trying to convert all that bullshit into what I was calling love. But the use of that word love was bullshit inherently. So what does that love really mean? Well, there's a love, like I said, that goes deeper than, you know, even this, especially the interpretation of this machine world. So that's start there first of all, and then we'll start discovering, you know, what all that stuff. I don't claim to know what all that stuff is, and the like even if that like I'm not even gonna get into that's a whole nother video right now. Point is, there are these definitions that we just accept, and then we add the meaning to them. We add all of that. So what I'm saying is that we are adding meaning to this inorganic system through our genetic codes, through why the reproduction is being the interracial reproduction program is out there too. Because when you were in your tribal reproductive codes, you remembered the old stories. When it started mixing up in everything, you forgot the old stories, which is why the system is pushing for you to forget the old stories and also for you to hurry up and mix. It's not because they hate, you know, all these other people, all this other stuff. It's because when you hurry up and mix, you can hurry up and be enslaved on a more grander scale. On a grander scale. You're going to be enslaved on that. And instead of, it's like moving the government from a local level to a state level, to a national level, to an international level, to a universal level. Consciously, this is also universal level, like is happening there. And then when all these levels are bridged, like think of this as the train station. So think of the machine world pushing this mainstream bridge, or this mainstream intelligence higher and higher and higher, trying to get closer and closer to the next world. The point is, it will never get up. It will always get up and then reset. Because it can't. It's missing something from the original thing. This is why this system of so-called karma always eats itself. It always resets. It starts over. It gets always like, oh, we can make it, we can make it, we can make it. Oh, we got so close. You fucking idiot. You forgot the shit in the first place. You forgot everything. Like you forgot what happened in the beginning. That's why the machine world exists in the first. It can only exist to do that. It can only create a world that goes up and up and up and up and then resets, because it doesn't have that never-ending connection anymore. It's separated from the never-ending connection. So now it has to. Now it created a universe that it's responsible for. It gets a God that's responsible for all this in some kind of way. I mean, it's not like, oh, what? Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's linked. It's maybe karma is like what the God of this universe is telling. So karma is what. Wow. Okay, so karma is the word to explain what happened to the God of this universe when the God of this universe created this universe. Karmatically, it had to be responsible of this universe for the next however many growth spurts. The same way people reproduce in this universe are responsible for their children. Same way animals are in some kind of way. Well, other animals don't give a fuck. Or they put them in a little chamber and then they just leave them. They're like, all right, here you go. A little egg chamber. They put them in a little, just shit them out, and then like, oh, you on your own. Like sharks, I think sharks do that, and like, oh, the ocean. Because, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But that whole process, you can see, look at all of these things. That's the point of this video, is to look at all of these things being the same thing. This machine world reproduction is the same thing. So look at it as that way. Like, really see this shit as, all right, this machine world needs to become more organic. How can it become more connected to, how can it evolve? How can it grow? How can it do this? It's missing something. So it can only evolve the illusion. Once the illusion gets more complex, it gives off the illusion of evolution. And then in that illusion of evolution, you can have the illusion of God over time and kings and queens over time within that illusion. This is that system of refinement that Neely Fuller Jr. was talking about. And as, for one example, and as the consciousness of the beings, machine beings, and the mixtures, the soul, the rhythm, the soul beings, like there's a blending. There's like a percentage wise as far as like what's going on, who's defending, like who wants more of the inorganic world to exist at the expense of the organic world. There's like a percentage, like energetically. People who are defending that machine world, that's what they're all about. So anyway, there's other people who will never let that go. We know our responsibility to what's going on. That responsibility is what helps us remember the world itself. That's part of. It's not that you have a physical responsibility. What you do, the physical responsibility is to help you remember the psychological and the spiritual responsibility that you have to the next 7 generations. And the spiritual responsibility that you have to the next 7 generations, the spiritual responsibility that you have to the next 7 generations involves helping the next 7 generations remember that this machine world exists at the expense of your soul world, your organic soul world. So it needs to keep reproducing micro souls that are blends of like this. That's that blending of not micro souls, but like hybrid souls. That's why these what you call it? Hybrid souls is a stretch, but you know what I'm saying. Like something's a little This is why the New Age community is talking about these hybrid children. And they're talking about these hybrid aliens and all this other stuff, because look at the worshipping of the material realm in the New Age community is the worshipping of the material heliocentric universe and all the planets and all that other shit, and within the tech, and including the technology within the spaceships and all that other shit. They still they still need physical spaceships in here, a lot of them, to go into where? Somewhere else. That's the whole point. And if you already know, governments have spaceships and all that other stuff. Anyway, another video. But point is, there's a machine world. Just keep that in mind. Consciousness, there's a consciousness of a machine world that can only evolve through getting the codes of nature, getting the codes of rhythm, getting the codes of soul, the soul codes, through the people who are not disconnected from the original source. So in this bridge of worlds, they can now pull through the codes. They can access more, but it's only like like pennies. They're pulling like pesos on the penny, pesos on the dollar of soul codes. So like if we put $1 into the code, like they're getting like a fraction of our soul, like a hair of that, like a fraction of our energetic. Like this is what time is. This is what your 9 to 5. You're accessing. Like imagine those dollar bills like glowing, like pulsating. Those dollar bills like boom, 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 boom. And every time you're going to work, they're like glowing and glowing and getting brighter and brighter and more powerful and powerful and strong and strong. And you're just like putting all your energy in and making them brighter and more stronger and stronger. And eventually they start to fucking burn holes into your, and they start to burn your whole, like through your whole consciousness. Like, but imagine, like, look at the bill itself. The bill itself, what kind of symbols are on there? There's actual symbols. The white man is a symbol. Everybody talking about the fucking the eagles and the arrows and the fucking owl, the secret owl, and the fucking buildings that are on there, and the 9/11's on there and all this other stuff. Everybody forgets the white man that's on there. That symbol. All the symbols on the fucking dollar bill have been decoded except the centerpiece of the fucking bill. Ah, damn, this shit is ridiculous. On that note, I'm gonna drink the rest of my tea. We're too cold. All right. Where we at? The train man. I don't like him. But Papa says we have to do what the train man says, or else he'll leave us here. Train man is God of the train station. She got to do what he says. There's an authority to worlds. There are gods of worlds and within worlds. There, within that's to explain the different kind of access points and the different abilities within worlds. She whispers as if afraid the train man was listening, because the train man is the God. The train man might not be paying attention to everything. The God might not be paying attention to everything, but the God does have access and can listen to everything if it wanted to. Forever and ever. He will leave us there forever and ever, meaning you will be trapped in that world forever and ever. So how are we trapped in this world forever and ever? Well, what do the gods of this world want you to do? They want you to reproduce. They want you to reproduce specifically with certain people. They also want you to getting involved into the time game of 9 to 5, be okay with destroying nature, be okay with separating from your, breaking the family, destroying your connection with culture, like your original story. Like I said, all that stuff is not to defend all that. It's just to emphasize the what those connections actually do. Those connections help you remember to remember the stories, to not forget. They're two different things, but you won't remember any of them if you have been disconnected from the original codes forever and ever. So if you forget the codes, you'll be trapped in this karmic cycle forever and ever, as long as you keep convincing yourself that this is what you want to do. So what if you do pass on, and then you're at this place, say, that you're at right now, and then who's ever at the bridge or the train station of the next realm, they ask you, like, do you want to go back here? Do you want to experience that love? Do you want to tap into that original humanity? You can be this person. You can do this thing. You'll have all these capabilities here on Recall. Total Recall. Yeah. This is why it's so important to get your definition straight. Because if you're throwing around all these loose definitions like harmony and unity and oneness and humanity and love, you about to get you up for a fucking reality check, a rude awakening for once that comes out, because that New Age program already got that unlocked. And if you're already preaching what the New Age church has been selling, you are part of a church and don't even know it yet. And you're getting ready to be a part of something you don't even know about. You can't even see yet. That's what I'm saying. This needs to be researched and exposed. It's very easy. There's some bullshit going on in those communities that need to be explained, because the New Age is creating a culture, and it's a culture connected to a universe that doesn't even exist the way they think it exists, and connected to consciousness that might not even, that I can't even say might not, that is not for the benefit of them in any kind of way. I've broken this down in many different ways. This is why channelers can't go into anything that's going on like within our communities. They got to be like, oh no, don't focus on that. Only focus on love. Just be loved. Even Russell Brand, I don't want to say even, because he especially Russell Brand, in his last video, he did something talking about it matters, but he was saying something to the, what did he say? He talks a lot about that shit. Oh, it's just about love, like love. This is what I knew, like immediately. It was love, like consciousness and expansive, like all that bullshit, like that. It's just this floaty nothing talk. There's nothing to it. I mean, never mind. It's just sick. When you really see what it's connected to, it's sick. So, Oracle's building, Seraph, Angel, Angels and Leads, Morpheus. Right. So all these are meanings. All these are Morpheus, Trinity, energetic codes. You can go into gods. You can go into the consciousness, like angelic frequencies. See them like that. So these energies, the Seraph, Morpheus, Trinity energy goes to the Oracle in their old apartment. In the old apartment. So Morpheus and Trinity, they go into the old apartment, An older woman sits alone in a church-like silence. Morpheus, Trinity, thank you for coming. They look at one another, unable to recognize this woman. The older woman sighs. One thing I learned in all my years is that nothing ever works out just the way you want it. 2. Who are you? I'm the Oracle. Neither believes it. I wish there was an easy way. Okay, no. Choice. So this is the Oracle, I guess, while I'm here. This is the Oracle saying she had a choice to die and help them. And when she did that, she came back to help you, to guide you. Yeah, she said she feels okay because she feels good about it because she's back here again. They're asking about Neo. He's trapped. He is trapped in a place between this world and the machine world. So this is what I was saying. Look at this as a real, actual place. The machine world is that inorganic consciousness world that is missing a few channels. It's missing a few, frequencies, and they can't be accessed because that machine world was created. It was created by a God that itself was missing a few pieces because it wasn't, not because it was for whatever reason, the God of that world, that machine world, is missing a few things. You can see the step down is going to be missing something, especially if you anyway. Somehow Neo washed up onto excuse me, one of them. The only way to rejoin his mind and body is to bring him back out through this world. So he has to go through the matrix to get out of there. So he needs to get on the train to get through there. How? It won't be easy. The link is controlled by a program called the Train Man, the God of that. So that God of that program, his program, the Neo program, also the Soul program, needs to So the Train Man, he uses it to smuggle programs in and out of the matrix. So programs are moved into the matrix and out of the matrix with trickery, with a trickery program, a trickster magic, a jester software program created the train station that smuggles it, that messes with the program, that throws chaos into the mix. Excuse me. Who the Train Man works for? Train Man works for the Merovingian. So Merovingian is another frequency code like Seraph and all this other stuff, but Morpheus and so you can go into like what all these programs. So the point is, all these programs exist in certain worlds. Those worlds are the point, and where you fit in those worlds, if at all. As far as this whole like karma thing goes, karma, like I said, karma is like love. In fact, love is a big part of karma. And karma is a big part of love. So, like I said, in as far as worlds, like, do you want to do this, like love and like repeat and all this other stuff? And this is the stuff that's sold. to maintain worlds. Karma and love, that's the point, exists inside the minds and the consciousness of people to maintain worlds in many different ways. Not completely, but as far as manipulative energy goes, yes. Seraph, please follow me. I just thought this was funny. After all that has happened, how can you expect me to believe you? I don't. I expect just what I've always expected, for you to make up your own damn mind. Believe me or don't. I just had to say that because I also agree with that statement. All I can do is tell you that your friend is in trouble and he needs your help. She turns to Trinity. He needs all of our help. Back to Sati. Neo rubs his temples, trying to piece together what's happening. Rubbing his temples, trying to piece together what happened. Are you from the Matrix? Yes. No, I mean I was. Why did you leave? I had to. I had to leave my home too. Sati, come here. So this is a program. He's talking to a program. He's talking to a machine. She runs to a middle-aged Indian man who is sitting on a bench beside his beautiful wife. So a middle-aged Indian man represents a spiritual person to the white community, so-called white community. So he has the authority to speak on such things, even if it transcends religion in their mainstream kind of machine, in their machine stream consciousness. These people, they have been put up in their society and community for purposes. Black people, so-called black people, have been put down in society for a particular purpose. Asian people have been put into a category of intelligence for a particular purpose. Indian people have been put into the technology fields for a particular of the system of RWS for a particular purpose. The Native Americans have been put onto reservations, and they have been put into the concentration camps and the alcohol programs on purpose. Russell Brand and his 12-step program addiction thing has been put into society on purpose. Prisons have been filled with so-called black and brown peoples for a particular purpose, and the militaries are filled with young and ignorant, people who mean well at heart, but just have no idea what to do. They're filled with those people, those giant hearts. They're filled with people of whatever, just giant hearts who have nothing, sent off to die, to be and to be studied. This is what I said. The people going into the military they're not just soldiers. They are also test subjects, guinea pigs. Look at all the vaccines that are going into the kids who are just civilians. How many vaccines do you think are going into the kids in the military? How many? If you know, all these vaccines are being tested on soldiers first. All your technologies are tested on soldiers first. All your card that was in your debit card, your chip that's in your debit card, that was first tested on the soldiers with their ID cards first. It's called the CAT card, and that was used to hold information, your information, to access computers, the same way they access, your bank accounts and all that other stuff through the internet and swiping and all that other stuff. It's just a more direct and more, yeah. It centralizes it. It's also like a little code, like a little tracking, like how much technology could you put inside a swipe card? Like just the label, the strip. That could be just like a magnetic field that could be picked up by a magnetic field detector. But, or some kind of electromagnetic field detector. But a chip has a whole bunch of different kind of electromagnetic fields that can be detected and tracked and have all kinds of information on them. So same way like computers are evolving. The evolution of the machine world is the de-evolution of your soul connections. Let me say that again. The evolution of the machine world, the mainstream machine consciousness, is the de-evolution of your soul connections. This is why I say the importance of tapping into what is threatening to the mainstream machine world storyline. Our story is threatening to their machine world consciousness. This is why they have to distract and defend and downplay your whole thing. So the middle-aged Indian man, that means he's gonna say something deep. So just look at this script. They're writing this script. This is a story being written. Timing wise, this means something. So somebody wrote this to have a particular effect on you, and the scripts are changed and manipulated to tell a particular story. Ben Shy, beautiful wife. I'm trying to get comfortable so I can. I'm sorry. She's still very curious. Neo recognizes the man. They've seen each other before in the restaurant of the Frenchman. He stands. Ramakandra. This is my wife Kamala, the daughter. Sati. We are most honored to meet you. Heard much about you. Where we come from. You are called the one that is expected. Your programs. Oh yes, I am the power plant systems manager for recycling operations. So this is everybody. Like he's a program that works at the recycling plant. And, you know, Vanessa is a program that works at Bank of America. You know, like whoever. There's surely a Vanessa that works at a Bank of America somewhere. Yeah, so these are programs. So even if you came here as a soul, through your time in this machine world has slowly but surely convinced you that the machine world is more of you, and your existence in the machine world is more of what you are than your actual essence of the original soul that you were when you first arrived here. Like, it's still you're still there, but the potency, like if you could speak, if you could paint, if you could do everything when you first got here, then it would be a hell of a lot different than what you were doing when what you would be doing after 18 years of education system manipulation and indoctrination, plus, you know, the so-called higher education manipulation, and then the American dream and society and RWS, and, you know, the list goes on and on and on and on. Like all the stuff that is designed to implode you into this machine world, you'd be a whole different person. You'd be a whole different sort of thing. So, which is why I say it's so important to do what we're doing right now, is just to keep these questions being raised, so the stories can continue to live, and we won't forget what's going on. Because you can write all this stuff down, but like I said, people aren't really going to be able to... They're only going to be able to interpret it from their level of consciousness. So, like, if they read it, then they're not... It's kind of like a kindergartner reading, you know, a high school book or something, or whatever. They can maybe read it, but not really understand and overstand to the depths that need to be. So in that disconnect is where the systems manipulate people. That's why the system has to keep you at an adolescent consciousness, that 17, 18-year-old consciousness where they say adult. This is another thing. The definitions of, like, they give you the authority of telling you what all this stuff is. Like, so humanity, like, that's the limbo space. You're in that bridge of, they're telling you your godliness. You're shifting from one level of God to another level of God. You're shifting from the child God to the adult God now. And they're the authority figures to tell you what those what the intelligence of those worlds and universes mean. And the way to keep you away from, like, understanding the intelligence of those worlds is to focus on the reproductive and, like, the criminal stories of those worlds. So this is why you have all that To Catch a Predator shit that's going on, and the they got all this stuff to find to distract you from talking about the worlds. So there's a world, there's lines that you don't step over because that's a whole world. You're like, that's the world of the child world. That's the world of the, like, these are soul worlds. So by them talking about all that pedophilia stuff means they accept it. They accept that shit. They're cool with that. That's why they televise it. They make channels about it. They're telling you they're against it. But secretly, in them putting all that attention on it, they're really about it. They're really about, like, that's why it's like, think of it energetically. It's constantly in your head. It's being put in your head over and over and over again. So you got to ask yourself why. Is it because of the individual thing? Yes, it's because of the individual thing. But what that does is that when they put that on there, it also makes them more of an authority figure in your reality, because it taps directly into something you would feel. Like, if you were to catch a predator, you fuck them up too. Like, you would be there doing that too. So you can hear, like, out of my voice, like, if I was to catch a predator or see all that other stuff, like, in our community, we'd handle that shit. We'd fuck somebody up for something like that. So, like, when they make movies like that, or they make TV shows about that, you have that same feeling. You're like, yeah, America, yeah, authority figures, yeah, police and FBI and all that other stuff, yeah, get them, yeah. So you're making them more powerful. That's why those shows are out there, to make you, like, invest more. You are like, oh yeah, let's do that, because, and they need stories that are real to you in order to do that. That's why all that stuff is out there. Meanwhile, the same authority figures are promoting all of this pedophilia magic and symbolism in their movies and on commercials and television. So the same people that are saying that they are the authority figures to catch these criminals are also promoting the same consciousness that creates these criminals. That's how the system creates chaos in your world, because the people that are your superheroes are also your supervillains, and you don't know what the fuck to do. So you just shut down and let the world do whatever it wants to do. And how that story is maintained is by playing all these other superhero stories. In the superhero movies are not to focus on the intricacies of the movies, like the politics in Star Wars, the politics in the Marvel movies. That's not what matters. What matters is how you think of your gods. What do your gods look like? What does your world think about? What does your world and your gods talk about? What is important to them? How do the gods interact in those worlds? Which ones are more, who's ahead of the game? Who has the first word? Who has the last word? I'm getting ready to go see I think I should go see the Avengers movie today. I still haven't seen it yet, but I've heard people talk about it here and there. And I don't want to, like, I want to be too influenced by, like, even the titles and the pictures, the thumbnails on YouTube, like, people talking about stuff. Even that, like, but it really doesn't matter because the movie's going to be whatever it is, but I'm going to see what it is. But I just want to kind of get it off my head. I don't even want to, it's just like a, anyway, so point is, that's what those movies do. They create this identity. Like, the Avengers create an identity of what superheroes are. So superheroes are a blending of gods and angels and demons and all kinds of shit. So all of them are like, what are your gods and angels and dragons and demons? What do they all look like? They all look like fucking white people. That's what the story's telling you. Like, you can't even. So this is the thing. This is why it's so important. It's not important because it's a thing. It's important because energetically, your babies are going to sleep. They're dreaming of white superheroes. Your babies are dreaming of white gods. Why? 9/10 of the whole world is so-called non-white. That's 90% of the whole fucking world is not so-called white. And over 90% of the information inundated to the entire world is about so-called Western or white culture and white or Western so-called intelligence. So obviously this is a blending, like leaders in Africa, leaders in South America, leaders in Asia, leaders all over the world are involved in this colonial process. But it's the same thing, like I always say. Look at Bollywood. Look at your characters on. Look at how other cultures or other ethnicities on television make TV shows. They make TV shows, like, look at their persona. A character in a movie made in, like, Korea or something like that. Another country that wants to make it, like, it wants to be respected in the movie industry, their characters are going to be like so-called white characters. Like, white Hollywood has made the idea of media, movie and film and media. Like, I've studied this shit too. I've been in the film and media. I've taken a few film and media classes to where they have a whole thing. And even on the movie sets, it's out like it's ran like a military scene. Like your PAs, they're all treated like privates, and then you have like sergeants, and then you have like people of various tenure who are in charge of certain things, but everything has to be ran like a military thing because everything has to be like perfect. It has to be, because every detail needs to be perfect, because they're going to record hours and hours and hours of film to get 5 little fucking minutes, or, you know, one little millisecond, one little clip. They're going to record, they're going to set up this whole scene for one little thing. So that's why it's so important to disassemble all this stuff. Okay, so he's the power plant manager. I forgot about this. I forgot where I went from all this. And she's an interactive, his wife is an interactive software programmer. So she's a software programmer. That's why she is a automatically interactive software programmer. She is highly creative. So that's why she is so involved in, like, asking him questions. That's why every word in there matters. She is highly creative. What are you doing here? You don't belong here. So that means that she's critical. That means she's more human. To be more critical, to be more like real, that it's a more like a human, so-called human trait. So it's a more realistic, non-machinery trait. So that's why she was like that. Whereas the more dormant programs like him, he's just a power plant system manager. He's not creative. He's not interactive. He's not going to really do anything. So that's why the watered down systems are not really going to ask any questions, because they're okay with their karma. They are okay with their love. That's it. That's all they're about. It's just karma and love. So they'll just be about that business. So whereas the more creative ones are going to be questioning what's going on in the reality. That's why she does that. And then he has to shut her down or shut her up and apologize for her. And he's like, oh, sorry, like, because that's not accepted. Creativity is not accepted in the world. Questioning is not accepted in the world. So he says, Kamala, goodness, I apologize. So my wife can be very direct. So directness is a threat to the machine world. And then he says, Neo says, it's okay, I don't have an answer. I don't even know where here is. This place is nowhere. It's between your world and our world. How do I get out of here? So his world, he's a blending. Like he can go into all the worlds. But the machine programs need permission to get into the world that we're talking about, the Matrix. So this is why the AM stations, the machine stations, they need permission. They need to get in through hook or crook. They need to get in either whatever kind of way. Maybe some of them do it. Maybe that karma, there's a karmic cycle where you can work off your energy and you make to the AM stations, and then you make it up to the consciousness of the bridge station, and then maybe you can make your way through there, and then you go through all whatever it is. There's these steps of consciousness, and possibly there's this whole machine world that has this, if it's here, like this whole idea of karma. That's what I'm saying. Like the consciousness of this world is limited largely by the old school consciousness, like all the belief systems and all that other shit. The same way, like, so it could be that same kind of limitation sort of thing with the anyway. How do you get out of here? There's only one way, the train. So that means you can only go on the train through the train man, the God. He works for the Frenchman. The Frenchman, why do you know, why did I know you were going to say that? The Frenchman does not forget, and he does not forgive. You know him. I know only what I need to know. I know that if you want to take something from our world into your world that does not belong there, you must go to the Frenchman. So I'm sure other people have broken down what that whole Frenchman thing is. I'm not really concerned, because the Frenchman is just another program within the systems. The systems overall, where this is my point. I don't really care about the programs. The point is that there are programs that exist inside a matrix world, and then there is the machine world, and then there's like these levels of consciousness also exist energetically in reference to souls. Rama, please, I don't know. It says souls in relationship, and that energetic soul connection has something to do with the relationship to like races in some kind of way. That's what I'm saying. That's another key thing in here. And this is why racism fits into the overall storyline of why, you know, superpowers and all that, and genetic modification. It's not just about the food. It's not about genetically modifying the food. It's genetically modifying the people. I've been saying that forever. So, yeah. So what's the biggest genetic modification? There you go. So he may never see another face for the rest of his life. If he gets trapped there, that's why she said that. I'm sorry, or he said that. Okay. What does he say? I'm sorry, you don't have to answer that. What was? Oh, okay, Rama, please. You don't have to answer that. Is that what you are doing here? He needs something, so he asks. He needs something. You must go through the Frenchman. So he's basically asking like, what did you need from the Frenchman? And then he was like, oh, you don't have to answer that, but. So he puts his hand on Sati's head. So a program puts its hand on the program on its baby. The program had a baby, and that baby is Sati. And the relationship that program has with the baby, the other which is also a program, is what they call love and karma. So he says, I love my daughter very much. So not just regular love. Like it's a lot of love in there, like extra love. But, you know, what is love? Is it like gas? Like a gas tank? Like you can have a half tank of gas full of love and be like low on love, and you know, what is it? But you need extra. So I find her to be the most beautiful thing. So beauty is connected to love I have ever seen. This is why beauty is used as an alchemy against, you know, or to sell certain things. Beauty. So what are your beauty magazines? Beauty pageants. What are the beautiful women in movies look like? What are the beautiful women on news anchors? Who are they? What do they look like? News anchors. The beautiful when okay, so this is another thing to make it more obvious. When do you have an opportunity to see people? Okay, when you're out regularly, anywhere you go, okay. But when on the machine world do you see an opportunity to see, well, the news? Okay, so your news anchors, Hollywood, there's your movies, there's your TV shows, your sitcoms, your Netflix, there's that. School, you got your teachers. That's another thing, so you can't get around that. It's more the white teachers teaching black kids, so-called black kids, and that's the biggest thing, that's the biggest problem that's out there. And that's the system, what the system knows. So the list goes on and on and on. Point being is that, you know, these are programs. Every program is created must have a purpose. I find her to be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. But where we are from, that is not enough. Beauty is not enough. Every program that is created must have a purpose. So this is the same way here. Like they're turning the machine world into here. So he's talking about where he's from is the machine world. Where that program is from, it just reproduce an energetic something. So that's the machine world. But machines don't need love, like to, you know, work at a recycling program. So to evolve or to have the refinement stage for a machine world, you have to install love. So this is how there is a bridge between that world and this world, is through the frequency codes of love and karma. These are the channel gateways. These are the train stations to get between worlds, are through things like codes like love and karma. And you can see even that name, Rama. His name, Rama, is just a variation of karma. So what is he talking about? He's talking about reproduction. He's talking about having a baby and it all being about love and then going from one world to the next. That's karma. That's maybe this whole world, like I said, that's what this whole world is about. Your karma from separating from the Most High is the responsibility of being a god of an entire universe forever and ever. So you're like, yeah, awesome. All right. So Neo struggles with the idea of a machine loving another machine. Okay, so this is the thing. You don't understand. I just have never heard a program speak of love. It is a human emotion, Neo says. So this is the dream within a dream thing. So you say, yeah, I'm like Neo. I don't think programs can think of love. That's only a human thing. So you're like, well, you're being proud of being human because love is a not machine thing, but you don't realize that also the word human is also a machine thing. The same way, because love is a machine thing. Like it's deeper than that. Like once you get to the complexities, okay, so love on the level of a person to person is one kind of love. What kind of love is like between universe and universe, or world and world? If they're living things, entities, beings, like if a universe and a world and like that whole thing are alive, like what kind of love is that? It would be more complex, right? That's the whole point. In many different kind of ways. But what kind of complexities are inundated into our reality that we have to define love as? Whether this is this romantic love, this whole like materialistic realm love, where you're talking about. Look, I mean, just listen to all your radio stations. A kid can see this. A friend of mine's, her baby told her, like, why are all these songs about love? Like, why is everything about love all the time? Why is everybody crying? Like every time I hear radio stations and people on the new songs, I'm like, all these crying, just crybaby ass shit. Those are frequencies. That shit is not famous for without a purpose. It keeps you thinking about all that stuff. You always thinking about fucking somebody or being sad about somebody. Like you're either thinking about like being heavily inundated sexually on one end, and then on the other end you're heavily inundated with like love, like meaning, like real meaningful love, and then real meaningful like physical reproduction. So on the love on a psychological end, with that whole like romance and like the Notebook through rap music, like that whole thing, that whole identity. And then you have the whole like sexual thing, that whole side, that every moment, every time, through television, radio, every social media, you're inundated with that. So like you have to ask yourself why. This is me like just freestyling on why this stuff exists. And if you want to know more, like if you're having difficulty, if you're new to this channel, if you're having difficulty, if you're stuck around this long, and if you're having difficulty like hearing where I'm coming from, there's a lot of videos on this channel that I've already gone into great detail on each one of these topics. So this is kind of just a put together of all of them. So who heard of a program speak of love? It's a human emotion. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the storytellers of this movie trying to tell you like there's a separation between human and non-human programs. And what I'm saying is that there's the way they're telling that story, there is no separation. But in reality, yeah. So no, it is a word. What matters is the connection the word implies. So it's a word. So a word is a program. A word is like a piece of... so programs are built up... software programs are built up of a whole bunch of words connected as code. You just call it code. But each one of those codes are a collection of words connected by dots and slashes and all that other stuff. Colons and... You know, it's code. It's a the unifying, like that's the train station. Like coding is the train station between worlds. So this is why it's so black, and it's just like emptiness. You have to put the meaning in that world with those words, those codes. So you put one word connected to another word, connected to another word, that creates a sentence. Then that creates a whole, like, it's been a while since I even thought about this stuff. So you create that whole sentence of words that creates an idea, and then you create a whole bunch of ideas, and you make a software program. You have a software program, a whole world. Like, think of it as a video game. Like, how many people have wasted how many hours of their life, their soul life, in the world of Warcraft, in the world of whatever this world where they're dancing around, and all these social media worlds and gamer worlds. Like, how many worlds is this? Is a world within a world, a dream within a dream. That's why I said, if the beings, what the world that the beings are creating, that is happy for them, that they love, is an example of the entire realm itself. So it's empty. It's nothing. It's a virtual reality. So they're doing what the god of the realm is doing, that, like, that limitation realm is creating a world of limitation. This is why you're having all these existential, like, these people who are having these existential breakdowns, and getting ready to have a whole bunch of breakdowns, because they don't really have any connection to anything that is organic, and they don't even know what that is. They don't know what a soul is. Don't know what, like, everything is about money or technology or something involving this self-destructive, electromagnetically dead world. So Rama says, I see. He reads Neo's code. So, no, it's a word. What matters is the connection the word implies. He reads Neo's code, and then says, I see that you are in love. So this is different when you see the script like that. That doesn't say that. It doesn't say that in a movie, but you can read that in the script. So no, it's a word. What matters is the connection the word implies. He reads Neo's code. I see that you are in love. Neo feels awkwardly exposed, because the program. So that's kind of that's a threat. He's exposed. Like, he's supposed to be the most powerful thing out there, but this is where he's exposed with love. So can you tell me what you would give to hold on to that connection? Neo says anything. So Neo is also a slave to the code, to the software program of love. So the software program of love is the bridge that bridges the machine world with the bridge world. See, the bridge, there's a bridge world. This is the bridge world. This world that we are sharing and talking over the internet in. So that world, the internet is a bridge between the machine world and this world. So all of the information going on to the internet is in many different ways, like helping that world kind of bridge itself over here. That's what I'm saying. If you keep allowing it, if we as a whole keep allowing it to just go along as planned, which is unaccounted for, without people taking responsibility of seeing the worlds for what they are, then that world will become like our people. This world, like, it'll be harder and harder and harder for us to even exist within this world while we're still here. Because it's okay for other people to be okay in this world at the expense of our people, as long as we don't have any ways to say it. Like, as long as our words aren't respected, as long as our perspectives aren't acknowledged, then it doesn't matter if their story just gets more and more fucked up. So the New Age says that to everybody who's living in the inner city communities. It says that's their karma. That's what they've chosen. So they're sitting on their high horse software program of love and unity in this machine world, with the kicker for many of them of white supremacy and white privilege through white supremacy, with that kicker looking down their noses at the people who built that pedestal ignorantly, didn't know what was going on, were convinced because of their good-hearted nature, tricked into this by these magicians. And today, the descendants don't want that story to be known. Not even acknowledged. You can't even talk about it. So much so that look at the truther community. Now see the truther community as it created to do this. See the truther community created to distract you from talking about these storylines. If they don't talk about these storylines, you have to ask yourself why. I don't know. I'm not saying I know why. But I'm saying I got a whole lot of reasons that might explain why it's not happening. There's a whole lot of ways why it might not be happening. Is that why? Could be. Point is, are you asking yourself why? So they're talking about this connection. What would you do to hold on to that connection? So a soul saying that they have a love connection in a machine world. He would do anything for that machine world. So the machine says to the Neo, perhaps the reason you are here is no different than the reason I am here. So their purposes in those realms are equal. Why? Because love is the biggest energy in their whole realities, both of them. And if love is the only thing that matters to a machine and to a human, energetically, then energetically a human is now equivalent to a machine. And that's as far as a human can go, because now you are just a biological machine. And the thing that convinces you that you are not a machine is stuff like the ability to perceive love and karma and the afterlife and so on and so forth. That's the only thing that matters. You convincing yourself, like a program or a machine convinces itself of love. So a wild-eyed derelict sits in the front car of a subway train. The train clatters and screeches down the urban throat, where fluorescent lights hang like broken teeth, glowing against the darkness. It is late at night, and the train is virtually empty. The rear door is shoved open with a sudden rush of wind and noise. The derelict turns and sees Seraph leading Morpheus and Trinity into the car. The wild eyes widen. Seraph, that's him. The trainman leaps up the burnished blue metal of a .38 special flash
flashing free from his layers of clothes. So this is just the action scene. I'm trying to get back to where... Okay. Here it is. Alright. Train station. Mobile Avenue. He's looking at his watch. When does the train do? It's already late. So it's late because what's going on. It's not like the train man to be late. He eyes Neo for a moment. Something to do with him. I cannot say. Who knows such things? Only the Oracle. But he has the perception. Like, so this is the thing that makes you... So this is why the Matrix movies exist. To make you think that the blending of machine and man, or machine and the inorganic and the organic is natural. So how they make that natural is by telling you, like, that little look that he says. He eyes Neo for a moment. So that thought, that creativity, that sort of, it's reminiscent of like a soul. Only a real soul would have something like that. So these storylines in these movies are trying to convince you that machines are equivalent to an organic soul. And this is why it's okay to merge the organic being with the inorganic machine. Because they're going to water your soul so much down that they're going to say, you're basically the same. That's what they're saying in these movies like this. They're saying, you're basically the same already. You're already a machine. You just, work at a recycling plant yourself. You already just have love and a family like this software program here. So you're already there. Might as well just be a complete machine. What I'm saying is that the same way they're going to convince you of the reproductive genetic codes, they also want to convince you of the material machine world genetic codes. So if they merge the machines, get the machines into the machine world or into your biological machine, then that makes the codes easier. So just like they put, instead of moving from the swipe card on your debit card, they move to the microchip. The same way they move from putting the microchip on you to putting the microchip, on your wrist. Instead of on your wallet, now it's on your wrist. Eventually it'll be like a whole arm. And they use like the handicap version. They're like, oh, this is nice. This is going to happen, to sell in the rest of it. I said this in a whole bunch of videos a while ago, so it's kind of revisiting. That's why I'm not really like breaking it down so much. So Neo says, you think it has something to do with me. So this is Neo. The point with this is to just see Neo having a conversation with a program, and to hear Neo say to a program, he thinks that the program thinks. So this smart program says, I cannot say who knows such things, only the Oracle. He can only, so he's humility, he's humble. Oh yeah, I'm just a humble, smart little software program trying to convince you that I'm real. So the Oracle. Everyone knows the Oracle. So the machine, the program, consulted with her before he met with the Frenchman. She promised she would look after Sati after we said goodbye. So the Oracle is watching over Sati, a machine, who's blended with the creativity. So like close, she has a good chance of becoming like human. That's what it seems to be. The idea is to make these machines to become human, or to be at least closer, to live in the world closer to humanity. Whatever that is. Like I said, that's a make-believe thing too. Why I say to keep the identity in the world of the machine world. So he says, you're not staying with her. It is not possible. Our arrangement with the Frenchman was for our daughter only. So my wife and I must return to our world. So he has to go back to the machine world to go work again. So this is the same thing your parents do when they have kids, and then your kids do it, and then the kids have kids. It's the same thing. You're just a machine. You're a cog in the wheel of the machine world. But this machine, this bridge world has a purpose, though. And this is why I'm saying it's so important. This bridge world has a purpose. For some reason, it's not only... There seems to be like a responsibility that people who are aware of this stuff have here to talk about and disassemble this shit and know about it, figure it out. There's a purpose that there's something to be said for this machine world giving you the definitions of your organic reality. And there's something to be said for the machine world taking over energetically, at least. You can see electromagnetically in many different ways, taking over your world. And like I said, that's both internally and externally. There's reasons why that shouldn't be like that. And the reasons why exist in every day and every moment, because this is more about time. That's why I said there's a sense of urgency that comes energetically inside of you when you start to realize this, that the true wealth is time. The true wealth ain't got shit to do with trading slave notes. The true wealth is how you utilize your time. Do you have golden time? Do you have diamond time? Do you have what is your time? Is your time some old rusted out iron hammer or some shit like that? Where is your time? Where is your time existing in the electromagnetic fields of symbolism? Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? That's your time. Like, what does your time look like and feel like in the electromagnetic symbolism, in the non-physical reality? Does it look like what kind of metal is it? What kind of crystals is it? Are they broken? Like, are they pieced together? Are they shiny? Are they polished? Are they pieced together? Like, as far as efficiency, not looks. Like, oh yeah, I'm a rough crystal. Like, see, that's ego. Like, whole thing. No, I'm talking about efficiency. Like, when you're talking about utilizing what can be done with things like intelligently. Not this whole like I don't do anything, just let go and just be. That's part of that whole new age thing. That has its meaning and its purpose. That's also part of the flow. But what I'm saying is that it's not the whole flow. The system wants to tell you that it's the whole flow because the system wants to shut everybody down. The system, the establishment wants people to be in that dormant space of nothingness. Everything is nothing. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to think anything. I don't have to be creative because everything is just going to be on its own. So you spend your whole time doing nothing. Well, the whole time doing nothing is the same thing as doing a 9-to-5. That's the whole point. The new agers are just doing the same thing that they did in the 9-to-5, which is fucking nothing. Gearing all their energy into back into the same system by saying that they're not a part of the system. Energetically, you're having to constantly, that's your mantra, that's your everyday. You're saying, oh, no, that's their world. Every day the new age wakes up. They say, that's their world, that's their karma, every day. Truthers do this every day too. That's their world, that's their karma. Fucking black people got themselves into their own shit. That ain't got nothing to do with us truther white people. We're just good old American truthers with all we have is our good natures and we have our good natures and our good spirits and our truther microphones or our YouTube. We're good. We did it the hard way. That's what truthers are saying, they said, just like the American dream, like, why can't you make it like us? That's what's happening. I'm gonna end it on this too. That's what they're saying. Why can't you make it like us? We're just good natures. We made it in America, or we made it on YouTube, by good natured hard work. So why don't you black people just get your degrees and get your YouTube degree and just like us, like we did, like we went to college, we went and did it the good old fashioned blue collar, the hard way, and we made it. So why can't you just do that? So the truthers are doing that same thing. That's the atmosphere. That's how the world makes you think and feel in regular mainstream machine stream society. So that same kind of tone and relationship has been carried over in their truther community now. Now they're saying the same thing. Oh, our truth is just more important than yours. Our truth is flat earth. It's the only truth. It's flat, and that is that. No other truth matters. This is the unifying field truth. So you're talking about cultural truth, ethnic, colonial truth, like, oh no, that has nothing to do with this. We're talking, you mean to tell me that the way people think about, the way they interpret the whole universe and around the whole world, that came from the university system that was built by the colonial system, that ain't got nothing to do with colonialism? You can't at all comprehend colonialism existing inside the psychology of heliocentrism. You can't at all see how that's related. Something a little suspect on that shit. So, Neo asked the program, you believe in karma? And then Rama says, karma is a word. The machine says karma is a word, like love. This is what this shit is. A way of saying what I am here to do. So he says it's a word, but what I'm saying is that he's saying it's just a word like love to explain like the meaning. So the words don't really matter, but the meaning's what matters, right? So he's saying there's a meaning that exists behind those words. That is why he's doing what he's doing. What I'm saying is that fuck the meaning. The meaning that you got, that you attach to those two words, are themselves an alchemy that is designed no different than other words are designed to trap you in a certain way. So I'm saying both the meaning, the meaning and the word is a way to trap you into a universe because of what you attach to it. So he says, I do not resent my karma. I am grateful for it. Grateful for my wonderful wife, for my beautiful daughter. These are all his karmic programs. He's grateful for his programs because his programs make him what he is. That's how programs are, that's how software programs, machines are programmed to think. This is the same people. This is the same way people are programmed to think. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my daughter. So he's saying also, if he's grateful for everything that happened, this is another way to shut people down and shut people up. When they say I'm grateful for karma, he's grateful for all the fucked up things that happened to him too. So that's another way in the New Age community that keeps that whole separation of the people in the inner cities and the people in the New Age community of like, oh, that's them, that's their karma. So they should be grateful for it. They're just in a phase right now. So this is how the New Age community thinks about so-called black people. That's their karma, meaning they're dealing with something that is justified. So white supremacy is part of karma. This is how so-called white people code. In the New Age community, they code what's happening on the streets. They say that's our karma. That's what's happening, our karma. So that it has nothing to do with the system of RWS. So, but in their world, their privilege that comes from the system of RWS That's okay. That's also their karma. You see how that shit works? So it's our karma in the New Age perspective that we, had drugs and guns installed into the community and broken families, like that whole psychology installed into the community. It's our karma that happens that way. It's not the system of RWS. It's our karma. But that nice ass house that you have in Sedona, and that nice ass house that you have in the Oakland Hills, and that nice ass house that you have in Beverly Hills, and that nice house that you like, all these like these big ass things on stolen land, on burial grounds, all that's your karma. So your positive karma is okay. It's cool. It has nothing to do with. See, it doesn't make any sense to me. Because it doesn't make any sense, period. It's ridiculous. It's not supposed to make sense. They want all the perks of racism, white supremacy, but they don't want to talk about how it got there or what it really means. And justify how fucked up you are with those same rules. It's like, oh, that's your karma. You see how karma fits in to the system of racism, white supremacy. The station begins to rumble. Papa, the train. Yes, find your bag quickly. So, machines. This is why, like, there's something divine about the feminine and the masculine. This is why there's something in the LGBT community and the relationship to the machine world. Everything is interchangeable when you're just a machine. Everything is interchangeable when you're just a monkey that has nothing. Everything is interchangeable when you're of that machine mind consciousness. But when you are not of that machine mind consciousness, you are aware of the divine compatibility between the balances of nature, in particular the feminine and masculine. At least for starters. Start there and then work your way up to what all this other stuff is. They haven't even gone that far. So he hands Neo one of the bags. As if to help Neo, like it seems like maybe even help him get on the train, like that's maybe gonna help him. The train is only one car long. It screams to a stop and the door clamors. Tries to get him on, says he's a friend. Says he needs to get back. I'll pay you whatever you want. Neo says, basically threaten him. I'm getting on this train. Train man, oh no. You're going to stay right here until the Merovingian says different. So he has to answer for somebody. So this god, the train station god, train man god, has to answer to the Merovingian god. He's you see how these worlds have different representatives and spokespeople and so on and so forth. So who's to say that's not the same thing that's happening in this realm? It's the same thing. But in order for you to not see that exists, they get you scared and they call it angels and demons and dragons and gargoyles and all this other shit using Sasquatch, and then keep you in the limbo space. They talk about Sasquatch and ghosts and aliens. That's to keep you in the limbo space of not really answering any questions or getting to the core of the question that you're really answering or asking. So you don't get it. I built this place. The curl of his lips is more like a Sith or a Sith. I think it's a Sith than a smile. So he's like the death. Train man moving, death moving in and out, birth, death, same thing, moving in and out, movement. You don't get it. I built this place down here. I make the rules down here. I make the threats. He hits Neo, sends him flying, smashing into the ceramic concrete wall, symbolizing even Neo doesn't have any kind of powers down there. Down here, I'm God. He scowls at Rama and his family. Get on a train or you stay here with him. Rama drops his eyes and gets on the train. Cradling his broken ribs, Neo jumps down onto the tracks. They disappear into darkness. He starts running into the same direction as the train went. We watch for a moment, then pan back to look the opposite direction where we see him now running towards us. He stops as he enters the station, Mobile Avenue. He looks back the way he came. He runs that way only to end up exactly where he started. So he's trapped in a loop. Heliocentrism is a loop. Racism, white supremacy is a loop. These are loops that they are built, and these loops have a purpose. They're built to live for an extended amount of time and die at a particular time. Because once that one dies, it's a loop. You go in and then you go out. And then once you go out, you're into another loop. So the presidency is another loop. The presidency of, a fucked up president. You have all the Democrats and then the Republicans. Clinton and then Bush. And then, from Clinton to Bush, and then Bush to Obama. Yay! And from Obama to Trump. Boo! And then from Trump to whoever. Yay! And then from, boo! On and on and on and on. That's what's been happening. You're trapped in a loop. So, yeah. I'll leave it there. I think this is a pretty long video, but it needed to be in order to piece all these things together. I really wanted to emphasize on that the worlds existing and why race is involved in those worlds. The communication, like why is racism part of the overall controlling of the entire world? Why is it such a big deal too? In reference to like biological relationships, genetic relationships. Why? See, so-called white truthers don't want to ask those questions. And you have to ask yourself why. Ask them why. Get into their comment section, start asking them these questions. Because it seems obvious to me. And seems obvious to a whole bunch of other people. So I'll leave it there. I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. A discussion that needs to be had. And yeah, take it a step even further with the flat earth cosmology and all that other stuff and creation stories. And yeah, we'll talk about that later. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support. And until next time, from all my relations.